The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard, California.
Howard streaks in. Touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
For the first time in 2023, even though it might be a preseason, it's the first Victory Monday of 2023, everybody.
I was like,
they got to win. How about that? It's not as exciting, I guess, as a regular Victory Monday. But welcome in, nonetheless, to a Victory Monday edition of Talkin Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, alongside Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota. I'm Kyle Yeomans, with Chris Beam, of course, running everything in the back. There it is. Go. There's the music.
Go. Love it. Dallas.
Beans on top of it. The Cowboys get the win 31-16 on Saturday night against the Las Vegas Raiders in front of Tom Brady and company, who was, of course, in the ownership group with the Raiders. Tom Brady said ruined their night to his quarterbacks before walking out of the tunnel, and instead Will Grier goes and ruins the Raiders' night. Had really his best career performance, even though it might have been in a preseason action. We're going to get into Will Grier. We'll get into the reason why Will Grier is a talking point at this point in time. But I want to start with the thoughts around the game. John, what did you think about the Cowboys and the way that they fared in that final preseason matchup?
I mean, obviously, Will Grier looked great. He had a lot of motivation, so it's not a huge surprise that he played well. That would probably be my biggest takeaway. Second is probably it was entertaining to see Dak Prescott call plays. Just to see him on the sideline doing that seemed like he was probably more into the game than he would have been if he wasn't doing that. And then I'd say probably Hunter Lipke. That would probably be the other big one. But we knew going in that Lipke and Grier were going to play a ton. So it's tough to balance, like, okay, how much does this mean? Like, for example, like Dak, calling the plays, having success with it. You're kind of sitting there and you're like, oh, yeah, like there's a lot of people that are probably like, oh, he could probably do this on Sundays. And he was quick to say after the game, like, nah, I mean, they were running 3 coverages. This wasn't like a regular season game or anything like that. But it still made it a lot more entertaining for a game where you knew the starters weren't going to play.
Yeah, you really kind of got to see that was just pure Will Grier, Nick. I mean, the fact that the emotion was high. Of course, the Cowboys trading a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance on Friday, and that was really the talking point. We'll dive into Trey Lance in a couple moments, but I mean, you could see the emotions even after the game. You were right in the middle of it in the post-game press conference or post-game open locker room, and he was about as emotional as you could get following a performance like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say the performance reminded me of when he was a senior at West Virginia, walking into Austin, Texas, and coming back down, I believe it was 17, and winning that game, and scoring the winning 2-point conversion and just going horns down. But no, it was really fun to see Will back in his elite form, man. He was so good on Saturday night. And I was kind of watching the highlights back last night, man. There's a fit for him in this league somewhere, and I think he could be a really good backup somewhere. But talking about the emotion, he was very emotional because he had gotten really close with these guys. Dak Prescott, he had mentioned, by name, of course. Cooper Rush, that entire quarterback room was really close knit. And while they were competitive, they were brothers with each other. And so you could see the emotion in Will just having to walk away from those guys, which is tough. But I'm really excited to see where he lands this week because I know he'll land somewhere.
I'm looking up on the screen, and I'm seeing Dak Prescott being interviewed post-game, and Nick Harris is in the corner of that shot as well on NFL Network.
I took a picture of that earlier. I meant
Did
to send
you?
it to you guys.
Well, what were your takeaways from Saturday's win, Isaiah? Great job again, by the way, in the booth. Got a chance to look at it. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh,
there it is. Very nice.
Goodness.
That's right.
I got to be better about my facial expressions.
You got to smile a little bit.
Got to fake it till you make it. No, thanks, KY. But I was just happy and proud of Will Grier because people forget really quickly in this industry. And Will Grier was in competition, in real competition, and was actually leading the competition to be the backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys just a year ago. Mm-hmm. And had it not been for his injury, he probably would have beat out Cooper Rush last preseason. It didn't work out that way, right? And the league is the league, and things happen the way they happen. But what you saw on Saturday night is what he's fully capable of. Nobody questions whether or not Will Grier is smart enough. Nobody questions whether or not Will Grier has the attributes in terms of ability to run or the ability to throw. Nobody has those questions. All the questions regarding Will Grier was always his decision making. Always. And that is fully in his power to be able to correct at any point in time in his life.
Yeah.
And he corrected that on Saturday night. He made the right choices. He made the right decisions. He took the easy plays. He took the dump downs. He took the flat routes. He allowed his guys to go out there and make plays for him. And because of that, his stat line was absolutely insane. His ability to use his legs, guess what? That's what he does. That's natural for him. Throwing on the run, getting out the pocket, bootlegs. Those things are all things that he's capable of doing every single time he touches the field. He just made the right decisions. So it's awesome for him that he did that on that platform, but it sucks because if he done this before, he wouldn't be in this position.
See, I kind of make the argument that he didn't even have any say in it at all.
Yeah.
I really honestly don't think it mattered about training camp, the preseason. The only chance he was going to have to make a meaningful impact on this team was to be the backup, and the only way that was happening was on an injury. And the only reason I say that is because he's not replacing Dak. And I'm sorry, there's just nothing you're going to do in Oxnard. There's nothing you're going to do in these preseason games that are going to make me go, yeah, let's get rid of the guy that's 5-1 as a starter, stepping in a backup situation. That's the thing about Cooper Rush. He doesn't wow you with a lot of things, but to go 5-1 as a starter, and it's not like any of those where he had a big heads up, I'm about to be the starter. And it wasn't like he just beat all bad teams. I mean, there were some good teams, the Bengals, the Rams before everybody got hurt 2 years ago against Minnesota. You're not going to sit there and go away from that just because you're just yeah, we could have a stronger arm. Yeah, we could have a guy that's a little bit. No, that is exactly what you want in a backup quarterback. The other thing, and as obviously we'll get into the addition on their team, the other problem that for Will Grier is his age, because he's 28, Cooper Rush is 29, about to be 30, and Dak is 30. And when you are all in that clump, if Will Grier is 22, 23, well, first of all, they're not making the trade that we're going to talk about, and second of all, he's still going to be on this team. But it's because they're all in kind of that same clump together. But I mean, to your guys' point, there's no question that he can play in this league. It just he kind of got in a tough spot where, let's be honest, 2 years ago, we never thought Cooper Rush would get into games and play as well as he has. If you just go off of preseason and training camp practices, you never would have been oh, yeah, no, I could tell. Yeah, I remember third practice in pads. Rush looked like he was ready. You never saw that. You never saw it. And in a way, it's kind of like Dak, too. There were a ton of those practices with Jamil Showers. You never were oh, no, this guy, Kellen Moore's going to get hurt, and he'll take Tony's job. Nobody was saying that at the time. What happens in the games, to me, it just is matters so much more.
So, with that being said, you talked about how Will Grier had little to no say over the quarterback depth chart. If he plays like he did on Saturday in the preseason, the first two games against Seattle and against Jacksonville in Week 1, do they make the trade for Trey Lance? Do they even go out and make it? Or was the value too good there for the Cowboys in a fourth-round pick, a former top 3 overall selection in the NFL draft back in 2021? Was the value too good there to pass up, period, no matter how your backup quarterbacks played?
I would say the majority of people would say they don't make the trade, they stick with them if that happened.
Sure.
But the majority of people don't matter. The only person that matters at the end of the day is Jerry Jones. And the fact that Trey Lance was the 3rd overall pick, that they had a high second-round grade on him and looked at him as a potential future starter in the NFL. I just think that was just too much of a a thing that Jerry was not going to pass up on. When he sits there and talks before that game about how we just didn't want to hang up the phone. Well, when Jerry's committed to that, he's not going to lose out on a deal. No. And so I think Trey Lance becoming available is the key part in that too, because again, if that doesn't happen, Will Grier is clearly still here. He's not going anywhere. But because he became available and Jerry fell in love with that, really, at the end of the day, it's only about what he thought, You could have a bunch of the scouts telling him, no, I think there's still some upside here with Grier. But if Jerry wants to do it, Jerry's going to do it.
And Jerry was talking about it pregame, and he said that he had been wanting to get a developmental quarterback, and with Dak Prescott, and at least for the last 3 years, he had talked about wanting to go get Jalen Hurts. It had looked like he wanted to use the 3rd-round pick on him, but he got picked, I believe, 2 or 3 spots after Trayvon Diggs, so that didn't work out.
So when Jerry says that too, by the way,
yeah,
that's 3rd, 4th round. That's not we were right there. It sounds good as a story, especially right now because Jalen Hurts has far exceeded what you thought he was going to be. But the Cowboys have shown you that they were not taking second-round quarterbacks, and they certainly weren't going to take him over Trayvon Diggs. So when they say that, it's also Dak could have won in the 2nd round and been well, we really like Dak too. You like Dak in the 4th round. Like, it was not going to be. It's not like it's real close. Like, oh, they got our guy right before us or something like that. Like how you can make the case for when they tried to trade up to get Paxton Lynch, when they wanted Connor Cook. So that's a little bit closer. But I just think that him, and he wouldn't say Jalen Hurts' name. He just kept saying Philadelphia quarterback.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, where that team was at, they were not taking him anywhere in the 2nd round. Maybe the 3rd, maybe. But I find it very hard to believe that they were going to take him anywhere close to where Philly. Because I remember when it happened, it was a surprise that Philly took him there. Like Jalen Hurts, certainly everyone thought was going to be an NFL quarterback, but not to the level that he's become.
No, he was a winner. It was very similar to Dak Prescott.
Right.
Won a lot in the SEC. Was it a program where he was really the leader, the unquestioned leader, and then
took a step at Oklahoma where you were like, oh wow, he's
went
even
back to
better
the Big
than
12. Yeah, exactly. So I think there's levels to it with this Trey Lance deal, because it's not only just a backup quarterback. If you're looking at trading a 4th round pick for Trey Lance because it's for a backup quarterback, you're not looking at this situation the right way at all. You're looking at it as, okay, developmental potential starter in the league, high value, potential comp pick coming if he doesn't necessarily play a whole lot here, but he signs elsewhere as a number 3 overall pick. That's a very high probability, even 3 or 4 years down the line. If he signs elsewhere, plays a significant amount of snaps, then all of a sudden that 4th round pick comes right back to you in the form of a compensatory pick. There are levels to this, but also negotiation in there too with Dak Prescott as contract questions come up here in the next couple of months, or really once the season comes to a close. Isaiah, from an X's and O's standpoint, though, what do you like about the trade made for Trey Lance and what the Cowboys did by going out and getting a guy that not only was highly touted enough to go number 3 overall in the draft, but also somebody that's young enough to grow and to learn underneath a guy like Dak Prescott?
I think it's a great pickup for them. From a number of standpoints, not only, number one, you look at age. We just touched on that a little bit. He's a young quarterback that doesn't have a lot of experience. I mean, he has, obviously 1 year before coming into the league, really, and then a couple years in the league, so where he really didn't touch the field. So you talk about somebody who's raw, who's still moldable. You don't really have to tear down a bunch of bad habits. I think that's a great situation to be in for the Cowboys. Obviously, he comes into a situation with Coach McCarthy where he knows how to take care of quarterbacks and develop quarterbacks. You put him in a room where he's now doesn't have the pressure and the expectation of being a starter. And he gets to be behind somebody who approaches the game the way as Dak does. And also, he fits the mold of what you're doing offensively right now. I mean, the reality is Cooper Rush is a sure thing, and he's a safe thing, but his style of play doesn't fit what they like to do. Right now, you have to change your offense if Cooper Rush comes into the game. There's things that you just can't do. Any team, I don't care, I mean, regardless of how good your backup quarterback might be, you would prefer to have your backup be able to execute and play the same style of ball as your starter does. And that's what Trey Lance possesses, those same attributes as a Dak Prescott, if not more, in terms of athletic ability. So those are all positive things. And then obviously the things that Kyle's kind of alluded to, they just got out of a situation with Zach Martin where they didn't have any leverage.
Yep.
They had zero leverage. Zach Martin was like, go ahead, let the guys play. The guys that are behind the starters, they're not even in the same hemisphere as me, right? You don't, as an organization, you want to make sure not only that you fortify your room, all the things that we're hearing from ownership, you want to fortify your room, have a solid QB room. There's not enough QBs to go around in this league. There's high value. We get it. Also, on the business end, when it comes time to sit down and have conversations with Dak, as smooth as everybody would like it to go, it may not go as smooth as they like it to go. And they need some kind of leverage as well on their end to say, well, if you want to play this way, then we still have this that has developed into whatever they're expecting him to be, Trey Lance, that is, at that given point in time. So, number of things, but I think it's a great pick. If you're going to everybody's up here complaining about it. You spend a 4th round pick on Dak Prescott. Nobody's complaining. You just spent a 4th round pick on Trey Lance.
Yep.
I don't understand what the conversation is.
The only thing on the leverage thing for me is that I do think they'll get a new deal done with Dak. Yeah. But between now and 6 months from now. And so I don't think Trey Lance is going to be able to do much on the field to make you think that he's anything more than the guy that couldn't beat out Brock Purdy and couldn't beat out Sam Darnold. So I don't know that there's much leverage between now and when that happens. I mean, so Jerry's quote on this was, Candidly, I don't want to plan on, count on, or wish for help from him this year. So if you're not getting help from him this year, so the only way I would see that it would be, substantial leverage would be is if Dak got hurt and let's say Cooper Rush stepped in and they were just like, it just kind of, there was nothing there. And it just was kind of, which to be honest with you, I think that Cooper Rush is in even a better situation now than when he stepped in before, just because the way he plays, just don't turn the ball over, just be safe, plays right into what this Dallas defense has. I mean, look at the only game out of those, when he's gone 5-1 to start, the only one he lost is the one when he threw the 3 picks against Philadelphia. And how close that game ended up being in the end. If he just takes care of the ball, who knows? Maybe they win that game too. Maybe he's 6-0 as a starter. So, but let's just say hypothetically, if something like that was to happen, and then Lance gets in, and you're just like, whoa, like this kid's got it. He just didn't get the chance.
It just clicks for him,
right? Yeah. But the other issue you run into even there is like, he's got his own injury history, where he also has to stay healthy, because that's the other part of it. You see a lot after the trade happened was about, let's just get some packages where he can just run and do some stuff like that. Like, well, do you really want to stunt his growth as you're trying to make him into a quarterback? You don't really want him to be, what's his name? The Belldozer package at Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is
Blake
the NFL,
Bell,
right?
Former Dallas Cowboys tight end.
Chiefs, Cowboys, back to Chiefs. Yeah, like you don't really want to do that with Trey Lance. You have visions of him having the ability to be a starter in the NFL. And if it's not for your team, you want him to be there because, let's be honest, if you have a quarterback that shows starter traits, there's always going to be a value for that player.
Yeah, and I like what you said, Isaiah, about him not having the pressure anymore. Coming in as a number 3 overall pick, you have pressure from the moment you walk on that stage and shake Roger Goodell's hand. And being able to just take that away, that pressure off his shoulders and be like, hey, we're going to give you these 2-3 years to figure this out. And I believe it would be 3 more if the 5th-year option is exercised correct. So, yeah, that pressure is such a huge thing to take off of somebody, especially as a quarterback. If you're a quarterback or a kicker, being able to take any pressure off your shoulder is very important.
The wild storyline, real quick, the wild storyline from all of this will be, because the way I rank the NFC is it's the Niners, Eagles, and Cowboys, and then everybody else.
Yeah.
And if it's an NFC championship game where it's the Eagles and Niners again, like how crazy is it that they both made some terrible decisions at quarterback? Eagles paying Wentz, trading 3 ones and a 3 for Trey Lance, and then you're able to get away from that, and it doesn't even set you back, because that was always the thought, like, you better hit, man, you trade these 3 ones for this quarterback, you better hit on this guy, or you guys are going to be digging out of a hole forever. And it's like, there's been no hole dug at all from those 2 teams.
That is wild to think about, because of this being such a quarterback-driven league. You end up, and I think the comparisons between Brock Purdy and Trey Lance are even mind-boggling. The fact that Lance was the number 3 overall pick, Brock Purdy was literally Mr. Irrelevant in the draft just 1 year ago. It's always very, very odd to see how this league works out. And you said it happens quick in the league, right? I mean, it always does.
It does. I mean, and from a lot, I mean, it's just, they just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But I could tell you from a former player's perspective, even when I left here, when I got cut by Dallas, when I was playing for Dallas, I had a ton of injuries and a ton of stress and frustrations and trying to learn a new position and not getting the coaching. There's a whole lot of things that went into my time here that didn't pan out the way I wanted. But when I got released and then I got picked up again, you talk about the weight off your shoulders. Oh, crap. I left here and went to New England, and I was a whole nother person. A completely different person when I stepped on the field out there. There was no expectations that I had here. I didn't have people looking at me, saying, oh, you're injury prone, all that kind of stuff. Like, all that weight was off my shoulder. And I was doing things out there that I hadn't done, even remotely thought about doing here in Dallas.
So it does play a factor.
Confidence is everything. Yeah. I don't care if you're a first pick in the draft or your last pick in the draft. As an athlete, your confidence is literally everything when it comes down to you. Can I execute? If you have a question mark in your head on whether or not you could do something, or I have to do it perfectly because I'm going to get scrutinized for it, like, all those things add pressure. And yes, some people are going to say, well, he shouldn't be in that position if he can't handle the pressure. BS, he's a human being, right? And he's a young human being at that. He gets to find his way into an organization that is an amazing organization. They take care of their players, right? The development is going to be there. He has people that are going to love on him. The competition is going to be there. All those things come into it. And now guess what? He's rejuvenated again. And he gets to find his way, maybe even for the first time as a football player.
And to your point on that, Isaiah, so the Niners played Friday night. And after their game, their GM, John Lynch, was available, and then their head coach, Kyle Shanahan. And both these are separate press conferences. And at different times, both of them talked about sitting in the room with Trey and telling him, hey, this is what happened. We end up trading you to Dallas. And they both talked separately about how excited he was. So it just really makes me think of what you just said on that.
And you hear it. John Lynch said, we might have gave up on him too early, right? Shanahan said, we might have gave up on him too early. One of my boys who's on the coaching staff over there said they quit on him. Like, when you know all that is going on around you, right? And you know everybody's looking at you with negative intentions, you can't be you. You can't play. You can't. They already have chosen their winner, right? That's their Purdy's their dude, right? Barring whatever circumstances took place, that's their dude. There's nothing, regardless of where I was drafted, that I can do that's going to convince them unless I just do everything perfectly.
Well, it goes back to what John said about Will Grier early on. If you have a guy that comes in and fills in a role and wins games. Brock Purdy last year as a starter, he started 8 games. He was 7-1.
Yeah.
And, of course, they went to the NFC Championship game. Purdy was able to lead that team because, much like the Cowboys defensively, the 49ers have some dogs on the defense. As long as you take care of the football offensively, you're going to win games, i.e. Cooper Rush with the Cowboys, Will Grier as the third-string quarterback. What else do you do? Trey Lance, it's a different situation because he was a number 3 overall pick. Right. That's the difference between Will Grier, who was a top 100 pick in his own right, and Trey Lance, and then it also the age factor comes into it too, with it being just 20-something. You're 20. Is he going into 23. His age 24 season? Has he turned 24 this year?
He just turned 23 in the
just turned 23.
Wrong.
And
either way, that's not not experienced.
Just while it's fresh on everybody's mind in terms of giving them a visual of what it's like to know that you're a dog at a position, know that you're a player, you belong in this league, and things just happen and it kind of takes away your confidence, and then something else happens that triggers you just to be relaxed. What did Will Grier just do after he was told that you don't have the pressure of competing for the first spot in his life?
Yeah.
Literally. He's like, I know I could play in this league. Oh, guess what? You're not going to be on our team anymore. You're auditioning for everybody else. Cool.
Say less.
All right. Ball.
Yeah.
Bet.
Trey Lance turned 23 in May.
Okay, so so this is his age 23 season. He's got a long way to go, no doubt about it. And he's got an uphill challenge, but from everything Isaiah's saying, everything John's saying, even Nick Harris over here, I feel very good about this situation for Trey Lance. And if you're upset about the 4th round pick, you're upset about that and losing the draft picks. I love draft picks as much as anybody in the business. This is a good value, and this is somebody that I think is going to help your football team in the long run, whether or not it's as a quarterback or it's as a trade bait, whatever it ends up being down the line. This is a guy that I think you can really rely on and grow on. We'll talk more about Trey Lance, I'm sure, as the season goes along. We're probably going to talk about him as much as any backup quarterback in the NFL, along with the national media. But when we come back, let's play the 53-man game. Let's try and build this roster. We've got GMs in the vicinity today here on Talkin Cowboys. We're going to make this roster ourselves and try and fix the Cowboys to go and win a Super Bowl here in 2023 when we come back here on Talkin Cowboys.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
Want to use the Cowboys locker room's favorite products? Check out the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Hey, honey, can we talk?
Of course. What's up?
Well, I just thought you should know I've been curious about the new Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream.
Have you felt this way a long time?
No, I just think I'd really like the taste of Dr. Pepper, swirled with layers of flavor.
If you feel that way, I think you should try it, babe.
It's amazing. I mean, you're amazing too.
New Dr. Pepper Strawberries and Cream. The new flavor you deserve.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
This portion of Talking Cowboys is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome back in to the SWBC studios. Of course, Talking Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company. We have Nick Harris, John Machota, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, you want to play GM for a little bit here?
Let's go.
How's that sound?
Do it now.
Love it.
So we're going to build this Cowboys roster position by position. We're going to go all the way up and down. And I mean, we just got done talking about quarterbacks, right? But let's go ahead and let's see what we can do for the quarterback position as a whole. Let's start with Dak Prescott. You think we're keeping this guy around this year? You think he's good to go? Probably pretty safe. Wow. Okay. That would be something deeper.
Preseason, I just.
How many quarterbacks are you keeping on the 53-man roster? New rule intact here. Do you keep 3 guys, or do you only have the 2 and have Cooper Rush kind of up and down? I don't think that's necessarily a possibility, right, John?
No, I don't think so either. It'll be 3. So when they made the move for Trey Lance, you gave up one of your roster spots on your 53, but you also gave up a 4th round pick that I'm not saying they would have traded a 4th, but I was of interest, again, if I'm being the GM right now, I had some interest in possibly shipping a 5th or a 6th around this time for some offensive line depth help. And now that I just traded my 4th, I don't know how much I want to trade one of my 5ths or 6ths.
Does that kind of get you taken care of at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. Like that kind of, I mean, maybe if it's one for, usually they want to trade ones that are in that next year's draft. That's what teams want in return. So now I'm kind of sitting there going, well, this move prevents me from possibly doing that. So we'll see. Maybe they're a little bit riskier than I am.
Yeah, that was the one weird thing about the Trey Lance trade was the timing of it. You would think that backup quarterback was not nearly as high on the list from a priority standpoint as maybe some offensive line depth, some linebacker. That was
It's surprising.
Red flag.
It's one of the most surprising moves that the Cowboys have made in a while. And it's one of those where I feel like the Cowboys are always mentioned with anybody that's on the trade talks or a free agent. And there wasn't a lot of like real chatter about this, and you find out that 49ers really wanted to trade him to the AFC. But then the Cowboys come in with clearly the best offer of anyone. So I think it surprised the Niners and probably most of the league.
By the way, the quarterback rule, the emergency QB rule change that the NFL puts in this season, teams who are carrying 2 quarterbacks on their active roster on game day may carry a 3rd emergency quarterback from the 53-man roster who does not count against the team's game day roster. So they do count toward the 53. You don't get really a break there, but it doesn't count toward the 48 on game day whenever you have to activate all those guys. It has to be on the 53. So we're keeping 3 guys. We're down to 50 roster spots. Running back, Tony Pollard, Deuce Vaughn. Is that RB2 right now? Do you feel pretty comfortable about? Are you keeping 3 guys? What do you think, Isaiah?
Ooh.
Keeping 3?
I think you're 4.
Going 4 deep? Who's your 4?
I think you are going with, obviously, TP. You got Jones. You got Deuce Vaughn. And I think you have to keep Rico.
You're keeping Ronald Jones on the roster?
Yeah, you're keeping Ronald Jones?
No, it's just a question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they hold on to him all the way through camp just to let him go.
I think maybe the hold on part was to see if he could be ready for a last preseason game. I see it being tough keeping him around personally, and that would be tough too, especially considering his 2-game suspension. It's Tony, Rico, Deuce Vaughn, and then the question becomes, and it's been posed in the last 36 hours, is it Sean McEwen or Hunter Lipke that takes that extra offensive spot? I'm taking McEwen.
Yeah, McEwen all day.
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm going 3 running backs. I'm going Rico Dowdle, Tony Pollard, and Deuce Vaughn.
I think I'm going there too. I think you've seen enough from Malik Davis. I like the the possibilities of Hunter Lipke, but just on this roster right now. And I think you could get away with putting Ronald Jones maybe on PUP to start the year and kind of stash him for a little bit. If that's the case, you keep him around.
Yeah, I don't know what the value will be on him with him not playing, and then the fact that he's suspended for the first 2 games. I don't know.
True.
Maybe somebody does, but
if you put a player, they have to be active to serve those 2 game suspensions, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so yeah,
don't quote me on that, but I think so.
I think at this case, I think we're keeping 3 running backs and we're moving along. All right, let's go to wide receiver. Got CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, Devontae Turpin. Turpin took the pads off in that last game. Pretty set there. So there's 5 no doubters. Who's your 6th guy? Who earned the spot to be the 6th guy? Or do you keep 5 and roll with it that way?
I was about to say, do you need 6?
I think they go 5 receivers, 4 tight ends.
Okay. You keep the extra tight end, save a roster spot. I think if anything, that saves a roster spot defensively.
This is a 2 tight end offense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everybody's recognized that yet, but this is a 2 tight end offense. The majority of this offense is the foundational pillar of it is 2 tight ends. So if you go into it with 3 tight ends, you're playing with fire. So you need 4 guys up there. I agree with you guys on the running back situation. I just didn't know how the Jones situation is going to pan out. So
sure,
4 tight ends, 5 receivers. I think if you keep a 6, you're forcing it, and you have too many guys on defense to be loading up with guys on offense that you may not utilize.
I mean, they love to keep their draft class, but I just haven't seen enough from Jalen Brooks for me to not be able to let him and Simi go and not think that one of these receivers. I mean, heck, you look at like even the game Tyron Johnson had on Saturday night. Like, it's kind of like running back for me too. Here, wide receiver and running back. When you're talking about a 4th running back, a 6th wide receiver. Come on, guys. Everybody, this isn't the only team cutting down to 53. Like, you can't tell me there's not going to be some guys out there when everybody else on one day is going from 90 to 53. You cannot tell me that there's not going to be 6 receivers that are out there.
Completely
6th, 7th, 8th quality offensive linemen? Probably not. 6th, 7th, 8th quality defensive linemen? Probably not. Running back and wide receiver? I think you can find somebody.
So are you keeping 5 guys?
5 guys. That's the 5 you said. Yeah.
Rolling with the 5.
Yeah.
I would like to maybe take a chance on Jalen Brooks here. I've seen enough.
I think he would clearly be the 6th. I really do.
Yeah, I've seen enough from Simi Fehoko. I love the guy. I really do. I think he's run the course here, and he's given plenty of opportunities either to stay healthy or to continue growing into a role. And neither one of those things has happened since he was drafted. So I think
Brooks is really tight for me. That was going to be that's one of my first 3 or 4 cuts off of there. But I kept an extra defensive lineman, an extra DB that you guys might disagree with him when we get to that. But that's what it came down to. Also, the fact that I just found out that we're going to have trade a 4th round pick for Trey Lance. So that changes things.
I think it takes up a roster spot.
Brooks, you can roll the dice on him clearing waivers because what we know of Brooks, the majority of that has come in practice.
True, yeah.
Good point. Yeah. There's no tape on it, no film on it. So I'll say 5, maybe 6, but 6 in parentheses right now. But we're keeping 5 receivers, 4 tight ends. John Stevens on IR, so you don't have to worry about losing the rookie this year. Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot, Luke Schoonmaker, Sean McEwen. Everybody good at the tight end?
Yeah.
There's your 4. So offensively, in terms of the skills positions, right now we have 15 positions taken up. 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and 4 tight ends. And that's where we've got going forward. Now,
this is where it gets interesting.
This is where things can get crazy. Offensive line. How many guys are you keeping? We'll start with the starters. The starters are going to stay there. Terrence Steele, Zach Martin, Tyler Biotish, Tyler Smith, Tyron Smith. All right, who's next? Who would like to go?
Well, there's no chance that they would let Austin Richards go.
Okay.
I mean, even if he didn't look good, you're not going to give up on a 5th round pick that quickly.
So there's 6.
Yeah, and I don't think they would move on from Let's Go either, just because of the fact that they don't really have any depth at offensive tackle. I feel pretty confident with him. Oof. And I kind of feel confident I don't feel confident with him as a player. I feel confident with them keeping him.
But this is us as GMs.
Right.
Do you want to move on from him if that's the case?
And I would even say I think Chuma Doga is pretty safe just because of the investment they made.
Probably IL.
So then after that,
does that count towards the 53 initially if he's going to go on PUP or IR?
Oh yeah, he might not then. That's true. That's a good point. If he goes on IR, then he's done for the season.
You do have to get down to 53, but he can go on PUP initially.
That's a good point, yeah.
So I think you could probably get away with stashing.
Those
Chuma
are just
Edoga.
the names that I feel like from everything I've heard from the organization that they talk up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You could probably throw Josh Ball in there, but him coming off the injury, he seems like a guy that like probably won't be ready for a couple of months. And again, like we haven't seen enough on the field to think that. I'm just saying this is going off of the way that they talk. But
how severe is Josh Ball's injury? He left the game on Saturday. Did we get an update on that?
We didn't. I've seen there are some reports that he might be out for
significant amount of time.
A couple of months, I think, was a timeline by one report. But
okay, so maybe you can stash Josh Ball there too. So Matt Waletzko, Awesome Richards, Matt Farniak.
I'm not on board with Waletzko.
Okay,
you're done with Waletzko.
If you're not, hold on. If you're not on board with Matt Waletzko, you probably should just keep 7 offensive linemen and keep those other roster spots for other things.
I'll put it this way: I believe that there are 7 on this roster.
Okay.
And I think that they're going to go grab 2 more.
Yeah. And that makes a ton of sense because that's the thing. Like I always am stuck around offensive defensive line around that number 10 because that's generally where, you go over your 53s from the last whatever decade. It's usually in that neighborhood. Yeah. But why not go a little bit light at offensive line if you don't really trust your backup? Why not trust bringing in a couple of new guys? Because when I made mine, I put mine out this morning. A comment that I got was, and I'm sorry, I just have to laugh. Where's your backup center? Who cares? We're cutting down into initial 53. Do you think, hold on, did you see anybody that emerged as your backup center? Is there anybody that you're just like, you don't want to let Hoffman get out there? Like, what are we doing here? Go find a backup center. What are we doing here? Like, there's not like 8, 9, 10 guys on the offensive line that you're just like, man, we can't let him out of the room.
Yeah.
You can't? Okay, if you say so.
There's probably 6 guys total that if you put them on waivers, they wouldn't stick around. The rest of the offensive line is going to make it right through waivers, I think.
So TJ Bass is an interesting.
Bass would be one of the guys
I got Richards and Bass are the only. That completes the 7.
Yeah.
He would not clear waivers with the tape that he's put up.
No.
And I have Bass on mine too. I just didn't know if you guys would agree with me.
I do.
Okay. I
do
have
agree with
Bass and Richards.
Say it with your chest.
6 and 7. But I think 8 and 9. I think Farniak has been around, but I don't think he had a good preseason.
So thumbs up or thumbs down on these 3 guys. Farniak. I would keep Farniak.
I think unless you have another guy that you can grab, I would say yes. Unless there's somebody else that you can just go say, all right.
I'll label Matt Farniak as an expendable retention.
Correct.
He doesn't have to be the guy, but he's a guy, and you've got him in the building. You might as well keep him on the 53-man roster.
If we have to pick 53 from this list, then I'm taking Farniak.
Yes, from this list. We're not trading anybody just yet. I wish we could, but that'd be fun. Brock Hoffman, yes or no? No, done. Okay. So TJ Bass, yes.
Yep.
Alec Lindstrom?
No.
So right now we've got 9 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
You've got the 5 starters, Matt Farniak, split on. Well, let's go split on Awesome Richards and TJ Bass, 2 rookies that you feel pretty good about the way that they performed in the preseason. So 9 offensive linemen up front. So that gives us a grand total of 19 on the offensive side of the football.
Let's just do the 3 special teams right now.
3 special teamers. Boom. There you go. There's special
now,
teams.
I will say with that, I don't know 100% on this, but I do think that there's a chance that they can do some of that
tomfoolery.
Yeah, where like Trent
cut the deep snapper.
Yeah, and he's still going to be your long snapper. So, but I would say just for our thing, I would just say 3 there.
Okay, so
I've done that in the past. So like CJ Goodwin's another one. Like I could see CJ Goodwin not being on the 53. I can see CJ Goodwin also being active Sunday night against the Giants. So
that's true. Okay. So 19 offensive players, 3 special teamers. We've got 22 roster spots taken up. Let's take our second break. When we come back, we'll do the defensive side of the football, starting with the defensive line. We've gone light on a couple positions already. Does that allow us to keep some of these talented defenders when we come back right after this?
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Want to use the Cowboys locker room's favorite products? Check out the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. Right now, you can get the Jack Black Playmaker, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The Playmaker includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word Cowboys. The Jack Black Playmaker, $10, free shipping.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
This segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Welcome back into our Talkin Cowboys 53-man roster special with Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Our fellow GMs building this roster. I misspoke in the first segment. We have 24 offensive players, 3 special teamers. So we have 27 roster spots accounted for at the moment. We kept 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers with a possible 6th, 4 tight ends, and 9 offensive linemen. And then, of course, you keep your 3 guys. Everybody, very quickly, feel good about Brandon Aubrey and what he showed on Saturday. I thought it was impressive in my own right. I think he's earned at least a shot.
Yeah,
to earn it full time.
I'll say this, and I wrote about it as soon as the game ended. He's earned the right to be on that flight to New York. Nice. As far as anything further than that, I think you reevaluate during the bye week to see if you can keep him throughout the season. But I think the trial run needs to continue into the year. I think he's showed too much good stuff to dump on him this early, and hitting a 59-yarder certainly helps. But I was even writing that beforehand. So I want to see him continue to get those opportunities.
Very much so. Agree on that one. Okay.
Hold on. I hate the national TV shows where very rarely, I shouldn't say all of them because there are definitely some times when guys will come back and point out when they were wrong. So I can't rip the Brandon Aubrey thing because I'm the guy that wanted them to draft Jake Moody, Cade York. Moody's hurt. Cade York doesn't look that great. So, and those would have taken, notable picks to get one of those guys. If this doesn't work out, you didn't really give up anything.
Mm-hmm.
You just signed Brandon Aubrey. And so after the first 59-yarder, it was so bad that I was like, oh, I don't know. But then the second one, I was kind of like, all right, maybe he's got it in him. But like that first one, the way it kind of like knuckleballed all the way to the left, I'm like, oof. I don't know.
But it went like 64 yards.
He
still had distance.
Which is interesting because I've felt throughout training camp and preseason, they've almost been like trying to protect him from kicking long kicks. And so when they brought him out there for 2 different 59-yarders, they clearly believe he has the leg. So I'm fine with that.
Okay, there you go. So I do like that. Keeping it accountable, John Machota across the table. I like it.
Yeah, I like to point out when I'm an idiot.
Same here, honestly. It happens pretty often. All right, defensive line. This is where things also can get interesting because it's a different conversation than offensive line in the fact that it's too deep to really limit it. So let's start with the starters. DeMarcus Lawrence, Jonathan Hankins, Osa Odigizua, Dorrance Armstrong. We're not counting Micah Parsons in this list. He's going to stay with the linebackers.
Those guys, huh? Okay.
He's going to stay with the linebackers right now.
There are 2 different schools of doing
There's
53s.
Completely different thoughts.
Okay.
Completely different thoughts. But
okay.
I'm going to keep him at linebacker.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go the second level. Sam Williams, Mozzie Smith, Dante Fowler. And then are those all locks? We feel pretty good about those names that I just mentioned?
Yeah.
So that's 7. Here are some of the bubble guys.
Did you say Viliami Fehoko?
I have not.
He's on it.
You think he's done?
Yeah.
He's good?
Yeah.
Isaiah seems to disagree.
And has nothing to do with anything he's shown.
4th round pick.
It's a 4th round pick, and just the stuff I've heard about how high they were on him going in, I just do not think they will cut ties with him this early. And to your point, I know you don't. The way Isaiah's looking at me, I'm telling you, I just would not be like. I think they're going to keep him. I think he's locked in.
I agree. I think they're going to be gun shy on John Ridgeway.
I think they're going to exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what it is. It's the Ridgeway factor.
Yeah. You don't
letting him go too early last year?
It goes to Mike McCarthy's point of not wanting to give up on guys too early, and that would be giving up on a guy too early.
So what does that put us? What's the numbers on that?
So that would be 8 currently. That leaves Neville Gallimore, Chauncey Golston, and Quentin Bohanna.
I'm on with Neville Gallimore.
I am as well.
And I know a lot of people argue that point, but I don't love anything that's going on beyond my starting defensive tackles. And I'm not sitting there saying Neville Gallimore is going to be a Pro Bowler, but I at least feel solid about him. So when you have him and Mozzie as kind of being your next 2 guys there, but now of course they think that Chauncey and Fehoko can help at defensive tackle. I'm not as confident about that. So I keep Neville. So.
You're keeping Neville, or are you cutting Quentin Bohanna?
I am. Yes,
I am as well. I think I would agree with that.
I don't know why you would need Mozzie, Hankins, and Bohanna.
Yes.
On a roster that everybody in the organization has talked about how hard it's going to be to cut down this 53. I just don't know how you would keep all 3 of those, because then you're going to have to go short somewhere else.
Well, you think about it with Bohanna, when he was drafted in the 6th round, it was not a high pick. It was a 6th-round pick out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
He was brought in to be the run stuffer, the big trash can full of dirt right in the middle of that defensive line. Now you've got 2 of those guys that actually have some game reps and success. I mean, of course,
and
Hankins.
If you don't use, hey, it's not like, the video is surfaced. Yeah. It's not like it's that crazy to think that they don't go Mozzie Smith in the 1st round.
Sure.
They go the offensive lineman. And if that happens, maybe they don't draft a defensive tackle until the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Maybe you need Quentin Bohanna. But after you got Mozzie Smith, it was going to make it tough.
Completely. What about Chauncey Golston here? This one's hard for me. This one's tough for me.
This is what it is for me. If you want to take...
I love the candid.
I think you go a little bit light at defensive tackle to try to retain Mr. Number 53, Isaiah Land.
Ooh.
Okay.
The 53 stands for he's going to be the 53rd man on the roster.
Oh,
wow.
Interesting.
Bubble guy. So we're sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9.
That would be 10, I believe. If my
to keep Chauncey would be 10.
To keep it Land or Chauncey would be 10.
Oh yeah, because I'm not even looking at. Yeah. Okay.
I'm open to trying to keep.
So
Land on the
you're saying
squad.
it's between Chauncey Golston and Tyrus Wheat. And Isaiah Land. Those
Correct.
are your 2 guys.
Correct.
Who would you keep in that instance?
0, 1, or 2. You could keep none of them, one of them, or both of them.
I like Land a lot, but I don't think that they can afford to try to keep another one of the for what he does for this team.
Well, and keep it in mind that Chauncey Golston was a 3rd-round pick. That's another thing.
That is
big.
big.
A day 2 pick and a top 100 guy. If you're going to let him go, he will probably not pass through waivers because he has the high upside. Isaiah Land was an undrafted free agent.
I get it.
He may slip through.
I've watched 3 games though, and Isaiah Land has had the impact.
So what are we doing? Are we cutting Chauncey Golston here? What's happening?
I am.
Okay. Oh man, that's hard for me. I don't know if I'd.
Yeah, we're split here. I was going to keep him too, just because he's a 3rd.
See, I don't get attached to that draft pick. Thing.
Yeah,
I just don't. I personally don't.
As we go later, I already am cutting a 3rd. So
you are. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's some foreshadowing. Okay, so 10 offensive linemen. 10 defensive linemen.
They're from the same draft class.
I got 9.
Sorry.
Same round.
We cutting both of these 3rd-round picks.
So are we cutting Nashawn Wright? Should we just go ahead and go to the cornerback spot?
Oh, I can totally see you guys disagreeing with me on that. It's pretty heavy at that spot there. And if you're going to keep Eric Scott and some of these other guys,
yeah,
Kelvin Joseph, it gets to be a numbers game. You keep Wanye, Marquise Bell. Believe me, there's tons of guys that have stood out, but you can't keep everybody. So, but I will not be surprised if Nashawn Wright's on the team.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore, Trayvon Diggs, Eric Scott, Deron Bland. You feel pretty good about those 4?
Are we taking 9 or 10
I'm
defensive
not keeping
linemen?
Eric Scott.
Okay.
10.
With Land or Golston?
With Land.
Land. Okay.
Yeah, just because you fought for it, but I'll say Land / Golston because I think I would flip flop it. I think I would keep Chauncey, and I would take a risk on
over Lance.
Over Land.
Let's keep Chauncey
over Lance.
Lance over Trey Lance. Yeah, no Land. Land. Everybody listening. Corner real quick. So 10 defensive linemen. Corner: Stephon Gilmore, Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland. You're not keeping Eric Scott.
I'm not.
You're not. You didn't see enough from him.
I did not.
6th-round pick. I mean, they've expended 6th-round picks before.
Yeah, I mean, they traded up. What did they trade to give him?
They traded up to go get him.
Yeah, top of the 6th.
Traded a 5th.
I mean,
I think it was next year's 5th to go get him.
I mean,
You think that they can keep Scott and Nahshon Wright, or do you think it's one or the other?
Has to be one or the other.
Well,
I'm keeping Nahshon in that book then.
Yeah, me too.
I think I would be too.
what's that
Let's
get you
go.
at?
Let's go back to linebacker. Real
Oh, I
quick.
also think Calvin Joseph's on this team, by the way.
Oh,
Stop this.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm out on that.
Stop this.
Micah, Leighton Vander Esch, Jabril Cox, Damone Clark. Overshown's going to IR. Devin Harper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
he
about
earned
Malik
it.
Jefferson?
No.
No, I agree.
Done or IR?
Well, I'm keeping 17 safeties
I'm
that
IR.
hopefully some can play linebacker, so I'm going thin at linebacker.
I like Malik Jefferson a lot.
I did too. He played well.
I like
He
him a
really
lot.
did.
You can't help getting injured. I mean, I'm not sure what the severity of his injury is at this point.
Yeah.
I think the saving grace for Malik is special teams.
Yeah. Solid on special teams.
It depends who they want to fill that Overshown/Luke Gifford role. And if it's Jefferson, it's Jefferson. If it's Lipke, it's Lipke. If it's McEwen, so
That's
on
the
so
thing.
forth.
Like, and that's a whole nother topic. Maybe we could talk about that on Wednesday. But I think that's Wanye Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Could
nobody's
be.
talking about that. Everybody keeps talking about Marquise Bell. I'm like, Wanye's bigger
Yeah, he is.
and more aggressive.
He plays downhill. Yeah. Devin Harper, the 5th one there. So are you keeping 5 linebackers? If you're
I'm
throwing-
keeping 4
throwing-
because I don't think Micah Parsons is a linebacker. But yes,
Okay,
Micah
that's
Parsons
fair.
is a linebacker.
Understandably,
that's where I'm
we're
at,
just
too.
using it as a
We're in a safe space here.
We're just
Originally, I had
numbers
10,
game.
Originally, I had 10 D linemen, including
Right.
Micah Parsons. I
Which
didn't have
yeah.
Isaiah.
Now
Land,
you have
so
9.
Now I have 9 D linemen, but
Yeah.
you guys are at 10.
We're going to go to 10. Yep.
Okay.
And then we've got the 5 linebackers, including Micah Parsons.
Right.
Safeties.
Safeties, because I'm still corners got a lot of questions for me.
Yeah.
Safeties: J-Ron, Donovan, Malik. There's your 3. Who are you keeping?
Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas, Israel Mukwama.
You're keeping 6 safeties.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're keeping 6
Yeah,
Because
safeties.
you use them as a linebacker.
When Overshown went down, I bumped up the and hold up. When Overshown went down and they didn't immediately try and add a linebacker, that was
telling.
yeah. Because honestly, going back to the 6th receiver thing, or not keeping 6, if they need a 6th receiver, they'll go get a T.Y. Hilton type guy during the season. If it gets to that level where someone's getting hurt or something like that, they're not going to be like, oh man, we only kept 5. We could really use this receiver. Right? They'll go out and get another receiver if they need to.
If you're taking 6 safeties, you would have to trust one of those guys to step in and play nickel or corner at some point, which is fine. Because when it comes to actual corners, you only have 5 spots there.
That's why I didn't carry 10 D linemen.
Yeah.
And if we're keeping 6 safeties,
I had 6 safeties, 6 corners on my list.
Yeah.
if you're keeping 6 safeties, then that leaves us 5 spots for corner.
Yeah.
Then you cut Land or Golston because you feel too good about.
That's what I say.
You feel too good about the pass rush.
I can't see Isaiah Land being there.
That makes sense.
So you would go down to 9 defensive linemen, 10 if you want to include Micah, and you would give 6 spots for
6 safeties,
corners.
6 corners.
6 safeties, 6 corners. Man, 12 on the secondary. That's fair. I get it.
How Dan Quinn uses his defense, that's fair.
Is.
You're light. You got 4 down linemen, you got 2 linebackers, you always got 6 DBs on the field.
Okay, where does C.J. Goodwin fit into that mix?
He's on the specialist side. Is there? No.
3 specialists is punter, kicker, and holder. So do you keep a spot for C.J. Goodwin? It feels like every year they find a way to do so.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
So he's still here, is what you're saying.
Yep.
So there's 1.
So we're at 54.
You got 5 spots. Gilmore, Bland, Diggs.
For sure.
There's your 3. Now you're down to
1
2.
more. That's 1, isn't it? Or 2. Yeah.
2.
My bad.
2 spots from there.
Eric Scott, Kelvin Joseph, Nahshon Wright. Pick 2.
Pick 2 out of those guys.
You mean Nahshon?
Okay.
And what was the other one?
Eric Scott.
Eric Scott or Kelvin.
Oh, Eric Scott.
I'm
So
telling
you are
guys,
going to keep.
Calvin
if
Joseph
that's
is
what
making
we're
this
down
team.
to.
Just watch. I'm telling you, Calvin Joseph's going to make this team. Just watch.
I get the thought process. I really do. But if you were making the decision, John, would he make the team?
Oh no.
But you think he will make the team?
Yeah.
So does that mean it's tough for Eric Scott to make it?
No, I got Wright off the team.
Oh, okay. So out of the back 3 guys,
if you're saying if
switched
I'm picking it,
yeah,
I'm keeping Wright over Kelvin Joseph. I'm saying I don't think they
would.
I think if it came down to those 2, I think they would keep Kelvin.
I think
Joseph.
I agree with you absolutely, completely. I think
I don't
100%.
But
I'm keeping. If I'm doing GM work here, I would keep Nahshon Wright and Eric Scott, but I don't think they'll do that.
I'm over here looking at what you guys are talking about. I wanted to look up the 2018 roster because I feel like that's probably when just the fact that we're keeping 6 safeties. 2018, they had like Jeff Heath, Xavier Woods. I mean, Barry Church wasn't even around anymore.
No.
Like, I mean, it was just so thin at safety, and to think that we're at this point now, we're keeping 6. Of course, like Isaiah said, though, it's because of Dan Quinn, and the way he plays defense or the way he schemes up his defense. That's why you keep those. That's the way I almost look at it. Is like you can't just look at it as these are just safeties. It's because it's like this linebacker safety hybrid type
flex.
thing. Right.
Position.
Who would have thought going into this training camp that we would go short at wide receiver and shorter at defensive line than we originally
Well, I
would have
wouldn't
thought?
have went shorter at wide receiver if I didn't get this quarterback thrown in my lap. Last
Yeah, right.
Fair, yeah. It threw a wrench into it, but
I
there's
got to make a change. I guess a lot of people listening to this would probably disagree with me on Neville Gallimore. I think there's a lot of people that think that they'll move on from him.
I don't disagree, by the way. I think he's on the team.
And then who was the other one?
Kelvin.
Oh, Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah, Kelvin Joseph.
So yeah, I mean, and I have no argument. I mean, that's what's so interesting about it. I mean, those guys are all bubble guys that I have no problem sitting here saying that I have a difficult time picking some of these bottom 4 or 5 guys from the roster when no other time that I've covered the team have I heard as much from the coaches and the front office talk about how difficult it may cut this down. So this is their full-time job, what they do, 365, and they're having a hard time with it. I'm just fine with me having a hard time with it.
So, Beamer, if you could take my camera real quick if you want. I'm going to show you just a visual representation of what we kept. I don't know if Beamer is able to keep one of the cameras.
Which cameras we got?
I don't know which one are we gonna get
Can
to.
I hold to that one right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hold it. You can hold it up there. But you've got the visual representation of what the Cowboys are going to take in terms of the roster. I don't know if this is working out.
Come back to your
very
seat, John.
24.
You got the one shot on your seat.
Oh yeah, there you go. There it is. So we can do it right there. So 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, 9 offensive linemen to go to 24 offensive players, 9 defensive linemen, 5 linebackers, 6 corners, 6 safeties, 3 special teams. So 26 on defense and 3 on special teams. And that's the visual repretation of how we built this roster.
Pretty solid penmanship there from you.
No, thank you. I've been working on that.
I chose to use the spreadsheet.
You got to be able to work on it a little bit.
I just used the roster that we got in the press box.
Actually, I did the same thing, but I did it on Photoshop to get it to make it happen. All right. That does it for us here on Talkin Cowboys. We will be back at 10 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday. We'll continue to look at what happens with the actual roster cuts now that we've played the games ourselves. We'll see just how close we were, and of course, we'll react to it as well.
Actually, we might not be here at 10 a.m. on Wednesday.
That's right.
Keep an eye on,
that's right.
Keep an eye on flexibility if y'all are
trying to do earlier practice this week so they can actually get outside when it's not 112.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I really don't. All right.
That's not getting over 100 this week.
Yeah, it's not
until the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard
we're
that
in the 90s this week, baby.
I just had
sweater weather.
This has been the plan for a while, was to have a couple morning practices.
Yeah,
because they want to get out on the grass.
Get out there. Yep, natural grass. Gosh,
Isaiah's never been more disappointed.
I was watching the heat waves in the stretch lines, buddy.
All right, that does it for us. For Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back, we've got John Machota, Nick Harris. I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you at some point on Wednesday, but we'll be here, we promise, on Talkin Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?